Hello, my name is Everbidis Christodoulou. I am a PhD student at the Cyprus University of Technology, and today I'm going to present you our paper with title Application of Topic Modeling and Decision Tree Classification in Tourist Destination Market. Motivation for this work explicitly address the problem of marketing touristic destinations, and specifically addressing the problems of what exactly tourists like and what exactly tourists dislike when it comes to their accommodation. Our approach combines culture and purchasing power of tourists in order to identify whether there are important predictors of sentiment, or in other words, satisfaction of the tourist at the destination. Tourist satisfaction is a crucial antecedent of loyalty and influences tourists' revisits and recommendation to a destination. Therefore, it's very important to be examined. This work presents a machine learning approach in contrast to other methods that use regression and assume that each dimension of the problem is independent from each other. So the approach is utilizing textual data from tourist reviews that are expressed in electronic forms. That's why they call electronic word of mouth. The main research questions of this work is: what do tourists that visit Cyprus like and dislike regarding their accommodation? What topics are discussed by tourists while they are staying at hotels in Cyprus? How the topics that are discussed by tourists relate to their experience? How culture and economic conditions of the tourist's country of origin affect the level of satisfaction? And which countries tourists, from which countries Cyprus satisfy better its tourists? So, as I said, the method that we use is utilizing e-word of mouth, and specifically we are harnessing e-word of mouth from tourist experiences that are written in TripAdvisor. The data covers years 2009 to 2019, and that was collected from TripAdvisor. And here basically I show you some descriptive statistics of these online reviews by city of visitation, tourist city of visitation. So and sentiment, which is basically sentiment indicating whether they were satisfied or dissatisfied with their visit to that destination. So, as I said, the underlying concepts that we wanted to investigate is culture and purchasing power, and how these influence tourist satisfaction. So, by culture we mean the different, we refer to different dimensions of hostede, which is one of the cultural models that are out there, and is one of the most prevalent and most popular. And this model basically includes 6 dimensions: power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. So the other aspects that we wanted to examine was the purchasing power, which basically purchasing power is the value of the currency compared to the number of goods that someone can buy with this currency. So we wanted to examine how exactly the purchasing power of the tourists affect their satisfaction. In order to assess the purchasing power, we use the gross domestic product per capita as being an indication of purchasing power of the tourists. And it shows how wealthy the country is compared to the country that they visited. In particular, in this case, is Cyprus. So we wanted to see whether tourists coming from wealthier countries had different, was significantly affecting their sentiment compared to tourists coming from not as wealthy countries. So the methodology that we follow in order to do that is shown here. Initially, we collected data from TripAdvisor. Then we integrate data from GDP and culture from different secondary sources, and then we created a unified dataset that includes tourist reviews, GDP associated with the country of origin of each review, and cultural dimensions for each review. Then we had to perform some pre-processing, so using data elimination, data cleansing, before going to topic modeling. Here we basically we identified the main themes that were discussed in each review. In order to do that, we learn a topic model based on the whole dataset, and then based on the generated topic model, we assign topics to each review. After doing that, we evaluate the sentiment of each review. So we use a sentiment analysis algorithm, as I will explain later, using the Bayesian naive Bayes model, and we evaluated polarity of each review. This produced an imbalanced dataset. The positive reviews were much more than the negative reviews. So in order to improve our decision tree, which is our final goal, in order to improve the prediction and accuracy of the decision tree, we had to try several approaches for balancing this dataset. So we tried the SMOTE technique and random oversampling technique. So from these two, the random oversampling produced a better result with regards to the accuracy of the decision tree. So these data balancing activities were combined with hyperparameter tuning that were used to identify the best decision tree that will produce the best ROC. So that was a measure of how good the decision tree was in terms of predicting the sentiment of the tourist based on the various inputs with regards to GDP, culture, review information, and topics. So as I said, we use sentiment analysis. There are different sentiment analysis techniques. We went down this path, and basically we use the naive Bayes approach which is one of the most popular machine learning approaches. Topic modeling is a very popular technique when it comes to natural language processing, and basically what it does is identifying the main topics in a corpus of documents, and then in each topic identifying the distribution of words that bestly describe this topic. There are two main topic modeling techniques: the latent direct allocation and structured topic modeling. In this case, we use the structured topic modeling, which enables us to associate the topics against time. So using metadata. So we selected STA. This is a newer technique, and is quite popular. So once we augmented the dataset with topics, sentiments for each review, so we proceed, as I showed before in the methodology, to create a decision tree. Decision tree is a popular machine learning technique, and its main advantage is that it's interpretable. You can see the actual results of the decision tree in a structure, so you can visualize the results of the decision tree, unlike other techniques that are black boxes. Also, in contrast to regression, decision tree shows combinations, dependencies between the various variables of the model, and this enables us to explain better what causes the tourist to come up with a negative review, or what causes tourists to be dissatisfied by their accommodation. So, as I said before, because of the positive reviews were more than the negative, we opted for the smooth technique for balancing our data before proceeding to training the decision tree. After we identified a good decision tree with good accuracy and validated it against the ROC metrics, we basically came with sub-results. This shows here the results of a topic modeling stage, where we firstly identified the main topics that best describe the corpus. The corpus in our case was the 56,000 tourist reviews from TripAdvisor. So basically we identified the 10 topics. Here are the topics, and in each topic we have the words that best describe this topic. And then afterwards we proceed to interpret this topic that makes sense to our case. Afterwards, because certain topics had some similarities, so we combined certain topics and we gave them a new name that basically refer to this topic integration. Some other topics remain as is. So after assigning topics to each review, after balancing the dataset based on sentiments, we produce this decision tree. So the main rules that were identified were just basically following this path, this path, this path, and this path. And basically the main rules refer to cleanliness, issues with the staff professionalism, other guests into the hotel, and so forth. So based on these rules, we proceeded to identify characteristics of each cluster that satisfied each of these important rules. And within each cluster, we basically identified the main characteristics of the tourists that belong into these clusters. Main characteristics in terms of country of origin. So this basically methodology, as was applied in this dataset, yielded these main conclusions, that basically Cyprus can satisfy tourists from Greece, Romania well. When it comes to cleanliness, tourists from the UK are more dissatisfied, and tourists that the current hotels cannot satisfy adequately is tourists from Australia, Switzerland, Netherlands. Also, we identified that culture is an important effect to satisfaction, and this was identified in the decision tree that emerged from the methodology. Culture and GDP were on the tree as influencing factors, and these were expressed also in the rules that emerged from this decision tree. All in all, this work highlighted the importance of exogenous dimensions and endogenous dimensions to tourist satisfaction. Exogenous referring to culture and GDP, and endogenous referring to properties of the actual review. Thank you very much.